Good morning friends and welcome to the pre-market view. We had mixed signals from the US markets as Dow and S&P were up about 0.3 to 0.4%, whereas the Nasdaq was down about 0.2% as the technology space is going through some kind of a pain in US. Particularly Apple stock was down almost about 25% over the last 1 week on concerns that the growth may not be sustained. Talking about the European markets, they were flat, and though we had some positive data coming out from the Greece in the sense that the debt buyback program has gone down well. Also from US we had some positive data on the non-farm payroll. Some of the data points that came out from Germany were not too encouraging. Talking about the Asian markets today, most of the markets are up about 0.3 to 0.6% as we had extremely good set of data coming out from China in terms of the factory sales and the retail data. Talking about our own markets, we had some kind of negative reaction in the market after the government won the vote in Rajya Sabha on FDI and retail matter. But we've already seen that the markets have done extremely well over the past 1 month, and we are somewhere close to 5,900, and 5,900 to 6,000 level would be a bit patchy for the market, and it would require some more action both from the domestic market as well as globally in terms of flows. So we will talk to you about what can one expect over the next few days on that front. Talking about the flows on Friday, FIs were net buyers to the tune of about 648 crore, and the domestic institutions were sellers to the tune of almost about 800 crore. On that note, let me invite Shaival to take us through important F&O cues, ideas and strategies that we could have in the F&O markets. Good morning, Shaival.
Good morning.
We had a quick negative reaction after the Rajya Sabha's outcome on the FDI in retail, but what's your sense on the overall bias for the market after that? Has that changed in a major way?
See, after that event, there is no major change in the derivative data. The data as such is intact. If we have a look at the PCR ratio is at 1.05, it's slightly cooled off, but that's not a concern for the market as of now. And also we have seen some profit booking taking place in Friday's trade. If I talk about the FIS activity, it's pretty dull. It's not that we have seen a major activity in therein. Now talking about the strikes, what we have seen is that 5,900 and 5,900 call as well as put option, both in terms of open interest has witnessed a good activity, and weekly VWAP is placed at 5,900. So now this level on closing basis would act as a good support for the market because the data has been also suggesting that, and on higher side 6,000 call option stands with 86 lakh shares in the open interest. So that is the major hurdle for the market, and if those levels on closing basis are taken off convincingly, then on higher side further targets can be eyed, probably 6,100, 6,150. So that is the broad range, or say the outlook for the probable week.
Right, and any other interesting ideas that you can share with us?
See, as a bias for the market is positive, and we feel that buying would continue to emerge at lower level. We would like to play on the positive side. We have recommended BHEL with stop loss of 238 rupees 95 paisa. Even Tata Global is looking positive. One can maintain a support of 168 rupees 25 paisa, and Canara Bank is also looking good. So one can maintain a stop loss of 476 rupees 10 paisa.
Right, Shaival. Thanks a lot for that update.
Thank you.
Here are the important news and events that we are tracking today. First of all, we had some negative news for the IT industry, both for the Indian IT companies as well as in US, and particularly some kind of a commentary coming out from Infosys management indicates that they may not be able to meet their annual growth forecast. Also recently Cognizant also came out with some kind of a cautionary statement about toning down their growth expectations. And some of the US companies like Syntel and TIPCO also have actually cut down their growth forecast. So overall sense that one is getting is that there is some amount of pain which is likely to result into a lower growth for the industry as a whole for next year, from about 17% to almost about 11%. So because of these developments, the bias for some of the top tech companies, particularly companies like Infosys, HCL Tech and to some extent Wipro, would remain a bit weak. This is from a next, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks perspective. Also friends, since the government has already won the vote of confidence on both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, it is important to know what more bills one can expect in this present session of Parliament. And some of the bills that the market is looking at are, one is that banking law amendment bills, which will empower the private sector banks to get more voting rights to about 26%. If this goes through, then one can expect much better sentiment for the banking sector as a whole, and particularly for the private sector banks. Also, insurance amendment bill is what the market is waiting. Also, pension fund, where the expectation is that the 49% FDI would be allowed, and in case of the microfinance companies, the market is expecting that the RBI would get more powers to supersede the state governments, and particularly if you remember, SKS Microfinance had a major problem of recovery because of the state laws not being really good enough for the microfinance companies. So once RBI comes into picture, you could expect much positive sentiment for the microfinance companies. So these are some of the important bills that the market is expecting over the next few days. In terms of PSU divestment, the EGOM is likely to meet somewhere in the next week to finalize the divestment for NMDC, and there is going to be about 10% kind of a stake dilution, and the pricing could be much lower than the current market price. So one needs to watch out for what pricing are we really looking at for the divestment of NMDC. Wipro has acquired a Singapore-based FMCG company for about 786 crores. So there could be some short-term pop in Wipro. One can go long there with a stop loss of 372 and a target of about 391 to about 399. DLF has actually indicated that they would be launching 3 to 4 major projects in and around Gurgaon by about March 2013, which could fetch them an incremental revenue of close to 15,000 crore. We've seen some kind of a buying interest in the real estate pack. Some of these companies are taking steps to boost their balance sheet quality, and one can go long on DLF in that context with a stop loss of 217 and a target of about 228 to about 232. Coal India, we have some positive news, as the company has gone ahead to finalize the FSAs with most of the companies, and we've also seen the government taking interest in ensuring that the coal production improves for Coal India. So one can go long on Coal India with a stop loss of 356 and a target of about 374 to about 381. For Sesa, there are negative news, as the Supreme Court appointed CEC has submitted its final report, and the next hearing is likely to take place in January, and Supreme Court has directed that no mining should take place in Goa till all the environmental clearances are in place. So one can go short on Sesa Goa with a stop loss of 192 and a target of about 182 to about 178. That's it from all of us, friends. Have a nice trading session and see you tomorrow at the same time.